isn't it?
It is.
Lovely. Have you been up to much this morning?
Yeah, I did some workout. I already have a call, so I'm really in for today.
Yeah, you already go. So a typical day for you, Tim, at the moment, what does that look like, a weekday? Do you work do you try to keep the weekend free, or are you busy?
I would say it's chaotic right now, due to the event management business. So event
Mm.
management on my side, like I'm young, so not that much experience, like 5 years of experience. It's kind
Oh,
of difficult to keep a like schedule which is plannable. So basically, I'm in the morning on at 8, starting to work, and then depending on how many meetings I have, and currently I'm working with many people around the world, so it's also difficult to keep the schedule when you have people in South America or Asia you're talking with,
wow.
to not be like, I try to keep it until 20, like 8 p.m. That's my plan,
Yes.
but sometimes it's not possible. So
Yeah.
it's chaotic and the weekends are not free, but let's see in the future. I'm working on it.
Yeah. And I think when you're doing something you love and that you're passionate about, I think that that time doesn't tend to be classed as work, does it? You enjoy what you're doing and you look forward to it.
Yeah, it's
So
kind of, I
yeah.
kind of have sorry to interrupt you. I have
No,
this
no, no.
kind of comparison, like when I was a child or a young person, I just loved to play PlayStation.
Yep.
So FIFA basically. And currently when I'm doing my work, someone asks me how it feels. I say, yeah, it's kind of when I played FIFA when I was 15 years old.
Mm,
So it's kind of the same pleasure I
excellent.
have. Yeah.
Oh, that and long may that continue, because we all know how good FIFA is. So how old are you, Tim? You said you're quite young, but how old are you?
28.
28. You're not too young. That's good. So you've been doing what you're doing currently for 5 years. So
Yeah.
where are you? As I said a minute ago, we've got quite a large American base here, Tim. So where are you? Where are you based currently?
We are based in Germany,
Okay.
in the eastern part in Leipzig.
Okay. Leipzig.
And
Okay. Lovely.
yeah,
And were you born and raised in that area?
yeah, like it's not exactly in the city, but it's like just 100 kilometers away in the more like mountain-based area. And
Lovely.
yeah, and a lot of people I know here in Leipzig already came from this side, so it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, good. Excellent. Well, for our American viewers and for our European viewers, you got Leipzig there. I love the word Flugzeug. It's a great word. Um, I did a really small 2 years of German lessons when I was at school. I'm 40 now, so 50. No, I don't know if it 40. There we go. I got there eventually. I had to do a bit of thinking there. So yeah, we're in Germany. You got Leipzig there. We're on the east side. There we go. And you're from this area.
It's more south, so it's called
Okay.
Annaberg-Buchholz.
Okay.
It's just straight south.
There we go.
Yeah, it's like this exactly.
There we go. Lovely. Okay, so you're near the border.
Mhm.
On here.
To Czech
And
Republic, yes.
yeah. Well, they've
And
had a turbulent history the last sort of 30 years. I used to work in a previous life, about 15 years ago. I worked for a brewery. So I worked for Pilsner Urquell, and their brewer, so Peroni beer and a few beers. So I used to go to the Czech Republic quite a lot, to Prague, also to Belgium, to Ghent, but mainly Prague. It was where a lot of the breweries and beer, come from, and Pilsen, obviously. So I know that part of the world fairly well. It's a beautiful place. What's the best thing that you can take from growing up where you did? So what was your favorite thing about growing up where you did?
when I it's a mountain area where a lot of people just love to do skiing in the
Mm.
winter. So I started with the age of 3 on skiing.
Wow.
Actually, so my dad just put me on there and I was like going down the hill. And then I started to do ski jumping as a sport in age of 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. And I did it until 14. So I also went to a sports school or boarding school, also in this area. So then it's really like the city next to the border. It's called Oberwiesenthal. A lot of world champions come from there. And
Wow.
yeah, I just loved it. So I mean, to fly through the air, just
Yeah.
jumping, it's amazing. And then I just had some injuries. It's not based on the injuries that I ended it, but on the school, like there was a kind of approach to be on a certain level in the ranking, German-wide and worldwide. I just not reached this level. And so the coaches said, yeah, you have to leave the school. And I just very disappointed, quitted the sport and went to play soccer or like football, of course.
Yep.
And yeah, and then basically I came to calisthenics when I went to college.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
Right.
right.
So, and that was when you're 18, about 18 years old, you found calisthenics. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
I can say
Lovely.
this.
Okay. Right. So I see a pattern emerging here. I see a kind of a route. So you've always, the ski jumping, you've always had a thing against gravity then. So you've always wanted to fight against gravity in some respect. And when it comes to calisthenics, we've said this a lot on the show, and I've had talks and debates and discussions around sport as a whole. So sports generally, I know it's a very broad term, but if you look at the modern functional fitness gym, which has got a strength, club involved, like whether it's powerlifting, weightlifting, you've got CrossFitters in the side, you've got jiu-jitsu on one side. You think of a super gym with everything going on. The one thing that no matter where you come from or your background in fitness or sport or your experience in sport, I think the one thing that people admire without universally is watching calisthenics. Generally speaking, we know what that person is doing is hard. We know that because we're all kind of able to move and we hold ourselves and we move. And in the gym space, it's probably, I would argue, the hardest thing to develop as an adult. So if you're an adult coming into the gym, one of the toughest things to develop is the calisthenics side of things. And we see that in a lot of things, in CrossFit especially. But I'll come back to that. So your college, you went to college in the region as well?
Yeah, in Leipzig.
Leipzig. Oh, lovely. Okay. And what years would that have been, Tim?
Like it was 10 years ago.
Right. Okay.
Like basically when I ended school in age of 17, 18, I straight went to Leipzig, also because I wanted to further play football on a higher level. So there was a club in Leipzig called Lok Leipzig. So it was, I think, the first German champion after, I think, 1964 or something like this. But the club just went down kind of bit. So it's not that it's third or fourth division right now in Germany.
Right.
So, but this was my goal this time to just move on to play football on a professional level. And this is why I selected Leipzig, because it was a good fit.
Awesome. And how tall are you, Tim?
180 centimeters.
Okay. So just in 6. That's great. So one more thing. What position did you play on football?
Central midfield.
Oh, it's the best one. I played centre mid. You're the engine. You're the voice. You're back and forward. You're building that. The last few weeks, every time I've spoken to someone that plays football, or for American friends, soccer, the centre mid, you're the powerhouse. You're the engine. You're the voice. You're the reason everything exists. So yeah, I'm pleased about that, Tim. So that's a good thing. So you've got a really good base then. So you've got skiing, just general skiing, ski jumping, football in centre mid, the best, and now calisthenics. So that's a really varied base. You've got everything going there. You think skill, coordination, and balance from the skiing. You've got jumping, so you've got power and explosivity. Football, you've got a good cardiovascular engine and power and recovery. And then calisthenics, you've got basically everything being ticked. So you've got a really good base. Morning, Jan. I've got Kenneth there as well. You've got a really firm, solid, broad base there to develop. So, and that's by the time I'm assuming by the time you were 21, when you finished college, roughly 21. So what did you study at college?
Business administration.
Awesome. And I'm assuming from what you said earlier, that's actually, you've pursued that and you've used that qualification in what you do.
Yeah. Like
Cool.
basically in college, I aimed to go to investment banking and consulting.
Wow.
But then it kind of switched when I started to had an internship in a like startup area or like startup company. I just decided I want to raise something. And then, yeah, of course, that's why I went into this project.
Awesome. Now then, let's explore that. So you finish college, you've got an idea about what you want to do. Now, talk to me about the project, how it started, that you're currently on. Talk to me about where the idea came from.
So, as I said earlier, I started calisthenics when I entered college, so an age of 18, 19. And basically, even if I studied business administration, my whole friend circle was based in sports. So it's all people studying sports there in Leipzig. It's also a big sports university in Germany. And we just all committed to do calisthenics. Some of them from my people just went to clubs in the past. So they came abroad from other cities and there were calisthenics clubs already, which was a new thing arising this time. And one of my friends, Tonio, which I founded this company with, he already moved into the thing called weighted calisthenics. So calisthenics, as you explained it, or as I think that you see it, is this kind of like you do human flag, handstand, muscle up and stuff. And then kind of a scene develop, which is more strength based. And Tonio basically was the best German athlete this time. And he just had he competed in a kind of German championship in 2019. And then he came back and said, wow, that's such a beautiful community. The sport is amazing. And we have to develop this. And there was no organization basically pushing the sport forward in Germany. And he just decided to go for the project to found a company and organize a competition. Obviously, on the sake of to become champion on his side. So he actually competed in his first competition and won there.
Okay.
Also, fun fact. But yeah, it came out that people just appreciated it. So the vibe was amazing. And then, yeah, this FineRep was born in 2020 with the first competition right before the second Corona lockdown. So we had a good timing.
Yeah.
And this year, no other calisthenics competition really took place. So we just had a good timing. And because we had a good live stream and media coverage, it just spread around Europe and around the world. And just many people got attention on it. And yeah, then we decided to move further also internationally, not just in Germany. And yeah, it just exploded within a few years.
And from the get-go, from the start, has it always been the same brand, same name, same business partners? Has it been the same thing since then?
So it was basically me and Tonio founding this company with one other guy who's called Ricardo, and he just left the company 2 years later because of just his plans changed. Like he moved to another city and stuff, and then he left the company. And at the same time, a new person entered our company who's called, his name is Carsten. He's an IT developer, and completely on his own, he developed within 3 years a software for event management that we use currently.
Wow.
We have it in place for all our competitions worldwide. We have more than 6,000 users already. And we see a lot of potential in it to build a digital structure for the sport.
And that platform, is that the FineRep platform? Is that under the brand of FineRep?
Correct. It's currently just called FineRep app.
Great. And is that at the moment only for the FineRep competitions rather than just open plan for anyone to use?
Basically, it's open for anyone to use. We just started to have it like in the circle of fine rep competitions because we want to have a good feedback loop, to have a good like development, that it's really a solid software, so to speak. We don't have so many issues with technical stuff, and it's just you need the communication with people. And if it's someone from outside, it's difficult to have this kind of communication. But now this year we reached a point where we are confident that we can just give it out and have other brands and people just using it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find a link on here. I have got your Instagram account up here. Finer Rep app. Let's have a look. And that's via the app, isn't it?
What? Sorry?
The app, the Finer Rep app, is that all? Is the system run through an app, or is it all online?
It's online. It's like a web app currently because we are we have very short cycles of development, and if you have a native app, you just need to have more requirements to fit for Apple and Google.
Right. Awesome. Good. So where did the name Final Rep come from?
It came from the idea that it is made for weighted calisthenics, for 1 rep max competitions, and this like 1 rep is the final rep, so to speak. So the name came from the idea, even from in general calisthenics, like it's a sport with repetitions. You do the same exercise again and again, and maybe you know it too in training. You just say, yeah, come on, that's the fine rep, and then no, that's the fine rep, and you just keep going and going. So I think it's just like very good. I just like this name actually.
Yeah, and do you know the reason I say that is because it really resonates, you know, and it's a really strong name. It's short, it's memorable, and I love it. It's really, really, really well thought out. Now, I was at a competition in the UK, a CrossFit competition. Hello, Pat. I think it was about 2016, maybe 2016, 2017. And I was coaching, and it was in a big hall in England. And in the corner, they had a rig set up. And it was these guys that were just throwing themselves around doing crazy shit that no one knew what they were doing. And we just watched and we were like, they're not doing muscle ups. They're doing something that makes muscle ups look like a press up. Like this is something very different. Now, like I said earlier, I'm 40. So I'm during that kind of the YouTube years, the early years when we had exposure to these videos coming from around the world, and you'd see guys in parks in maybe it was Lithuania or it was in the US or wherever. You see these guys doing stuff on these bars that was just, you're thinking, how are they doing that? And when I'd seen these videos online, I knew it is called calisthenics. And then seeing it in person and seeing these gents doing things that, you know, on the one side, you can look over here in the hall and you've got CrossFitters doing, you know, snatches and butterfly pull-ups and whatnot. And then you'd look back and there would be these guys on this rig set out doing crazy shit that was just made what the CrossFitters doing looked just like a circus act. Now, I probably think in hindsight, they were probably doing some variety of calisthenic sport or something. Now, I wish I could go back. I wish I could find out what they were doing and who they were. But it was pure calisthenics, and they were all quite short dudes. So they were probably, you know, 5'5", 5'6" None of them were particularly tall. But man, the stuff they were doing, it was the first time at that stage I'd seen a strict bar muscle up. And it was to get up to start what they were doing. It wasn't like that was the workout. It was like, you know, when the guys in the Olympics jump up to the rings and they just do a muscle up to get to the point that they need to start their routine. And I was like, oh man, these guys are doing something different. And it's what I talked about earlier. Inbuilt in us, we know when we see calisthenics, we know intrinsically that is superhuman. That's stuff that's, you know, beyond what any human can just do. Now, I know that's not everything that you guys do with Final Rep. I know there's more to it. So what I'd like to ask at this point is, when you first started Final Rep 5 years ago, was it purely calisthenics? Was it just, because I know the 4 divisions, and we'll do that in a minute, the 4 in street lifting, the 4 movements that we do. Has it always been those 4 with street lifting? Or was street lifting how it began? Or what did you start with? How did it look when you first started?
From the point where we started 5 years ago, it's exactly the same right now.
Amazing. Good.
So just to give you maybe more oversight how I see calisthenics is as a phenomena. It's on my idea, there are 3 categories or maybe 4. One is the freestyle. So it's where people just do the spins and do the crazy stuff, which just looks like acrobatics.
Yep.
Then you have the statics part, where people do front lever, planche, and a handstand for holding for a lot of minutes, stuff like this. Then you have the endurance part, which kind of looks like CrossFit for many people from outside who are not in the sport, because you have a high volume of reps within a certain time. And then you have the weighted part, which is kind of similar to powerlifting. So you have really 1 rep max, heavy lifting. And as you said, the 4 exercises for street lifting, like the idea of the exercises, how we selected is that you have on one side a very good balance between upper body and lower body. So if you look at our competitions, like you have the muscle up, the pull up, the dip, and the squat. And the first 3 exercises, we kind of try to equal in the total that is lifted to the last one. So if you look at powerlifting, it's kind of, you have most of the points with the lower body. And then, the bench press also is important, but not that much. And then street lifting, if you look at the really best athletes, they have a very good balance. So they squat 200 to 300 kilo, and they even dip and pull something like 100 and even more.
Yeah.
And what makes it the exciting thing is that you need to have a good muscle up, or you at least you should be able to do a muscle up, which makes it not so easy to enter the sport for classic weightlifting people, which also leads to the fact that the people doing the sport look very aesthetic.
Yes, absolutely. I've just pulled up, I know you can see it. I've pulled up the street lifting, the pin thing. So it's showing the 4 stations at the moment. Now, bit of background. I don't want to focus on me too much, but bit of background. I'm a powerlifting and weightlifting coach predominantly. I do coach CrossFit, and I've been doing CrossFit since 2011. But my forte with coaching is powerlifting and weightlifting. So as soon as I came across this, I was obsessed. That's all I wanted to do. And also the fact that Strength Shop, I see the Strength Shop logo involved in there. How long have Strength Shop been involved with you guys?
2022.
Brilliant. Do you know what, Strength Shop? I've been using them for a long time, over a decade. Might be 15 years. They've been. I'm assuming they're a UK based company. There's a lot of yeah. So I've been using them for a long time, and as soon as I see Strength Shop being involved in sports, I'm automatically kind of switched onto it. And then I saw the 4 lifts that you guys do. Now, back squat is my favorite lift by a majority. So as soon as I saw back squat, I was like, right, I'm sold. And then I saw the actual movements themselves, like the dip, the pull up, and the muscle up. Now, they're things that I would not be. The dip I could potentially do weighted. The pull up I could probably do, but the muscle up, I'm not even doing that unweighted. So, and to put it into perspective, a lot of the guys, like you've just said, if you walked into a strength gym, the majority of the people would either be doing calisthenics work, let's call it gymnastics for now, for the crowd that we've got, gymnastics work, or the power or weightlifting work, not both. Now, the guys that you've got on the screen at the moment doing that, the guys and girls that are doing it, are just all round fucking strong. And we know that. And the 4 tests that you've picked here, and I'm not saying you made the wrong decision here, because I'm with you. I love back squat. What made you choose the back squat over a deadlift, for example? What was the thought process there?
As I got it, so basically just that the sport idea itself was developed by Tonio as an athlete. So he
Hmm.
just like decided how it should look like. On my side, I would say we decided to put the back squat because squat itself is more usual in calisthenics than a deadlift. Because calisthenics
Yes.
originally came from the idea to do sport without weights, so
Mm.
just having a bar and doing cool stuff. So the squat was just more within the calisthenics scene, and
Right.
would say it played out well so far.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. I love the idea that you've got a back squat in with the calisthenics stuff. The muscle up aspect of what these guys do is insanity. Yeah, like where do you get that kind of upper body strength to do that? Yeah, every whenever I see a muscle up, a strict muscle up, I'm impressed still. That hasn't ever gone away. Even though I've seen lots more people do it now than a decade ago, it never ceases to amaze me. And then uh, you guys come along, and then people are strapping, 25-kilo plates to themselves and doing it. It's absolutely nuts. So, Tim, where before I ask about the athletes and everything, within the first year of competition, so 2021, how many athletes globally? Do you know the kind of numbers you were looking at for the first year? Was there an initial kind of people that were interested when you first started?
Uh, I cannot properly answer this question because in
No.
the first year we just looked at Germany,
Okay.
and we kind of, I think, reached most of the German community, and we had something like 40 to 60 people
Wow.
within our
Okay.
competition. And it was, I mean, to be honest, to be part of a competition, as you say, you need already to be on a certain level. You need to do
Mm,
a strict muscle up, including some weights. So I think we really hit the core community. Maybe
mm,
it was something like more, but in the end, it's just, so to speak, hundreds of people doing the sport in Europe or globally. And I cannot measure the scale of performance they are doing. I mean, basically,
right.
there was an association, or is an association, which is called ISF, International Street Lifting Federation.
Yep.
Me personally, I've never been in contact with them, but as far as I can see it, they are not hosting competitions anymore.
Mm,
So it's not really this kind of federation that you need in a sport to grow it.
mm. No, yeah, for sure. Um, so fast forward to this year, then. Um, the typical, I know we're thinking generally, so typically, firstly, what kind of gym and where do these athletes train? So do they come from normally a certain background? Are they all round athletes, or are they training a particular style of gym?
I would suggest that many people, when they come from the calisthenics side, so just starting with doing muscle up, like just pull ups, dips, then muscle ups, and just moving the ladder up front. I think many people start in just classic commercial gyms, depending on what they offer in their facilities. You need a good pull up bar, you need a dip station, and you need a squat rack basically. In Germany, I can say that there are a lot of chains which offer this, including McFit or FitX, for instance, which are also growing in Europe right now. I would say, but the best environment you have as a street lifting athlete is currently a powerlifting or weightlifting gym, because when you have a good bars, I mean, from our competition side, the most important to have is you have good bars, a dip station, and a squat rack, of course, and then you need good plates. And like the amount of plates also in a certain quality is most given just in specific gyms for weightlifting and powerlifting.
Mm. Yeah, the calibrated plates obviously make a big difference, don't they? Rather than having the thick bumper plates on hanging off your off your waist.
Until a certain
Um,
level, it's fine. Like until you do pull up with 50 kg, it's fine. So even if you
mm,
have two bumper plates, it's not that
mm.
bad.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you
yeah,
go further, you really need this kind of environment.
yeah. Um, Good. So that's your typical gym now. User and registrant. Now, do you find that the athletes at the top of the sport is that their only sport? Is it what they do as a sport, generally speaking, or do they also compete in power or calisthenics?
I would say, like 2 years back, I would say a lot of people would also compete in calisthenics, like endurance calisthenics competitions.
Okay.
But by now, if I look at the elite athletes, they are really focused on street lifting only.
Right.
Some of them just for fun compete in powerlifting competitions because like they already have a good squat. They maybe train deadlift, and bench, of course, is also kind of alternative to dipping if you have a good
Mm.
technique.
Mm.
But in the end, it's more coming up to competing in street lifting. You really focus on this.
Good. So if talk me through, so if I am, let's say I'm half my age, I'm 20 again, and I find you guys online, I get your Instagram account and I think, wow, this is something that I want to do. What would be the first thing that you'd recommend for me as a 20-year-old that wants to have a look at maybe competing one day in this and getting into the sport? What would be the first thing that you'd recommend?
For now, like this is actually a question that we asked ourselves lately, and we came across a company which is called My Strength Book.
Okay.
They offer kind of like training community for just general like companies or coaches. You can create your own community. And we are currently working on setting up a FineRep community there. So we are like developing training plans and bringing this into a kind of series which prepares you to enter the sport. So as you said, maybe you are entering the sport with a very low skill level. So you want to learn pull-ups. Other people can do pull-ups, want to learn muscle ups. So there are different steps that you can go through to enter the sport. And we want to provide this kind of training structure in this like upcoming training app. And this is something that I would recommend. Otherwise, it's not easy for me to say if there's a really point where you can enter the sport except like watching competitions. And I mean, there are a lot of coaches growing up in this sport too, like they're doing their own online business. You can, of course, go to those people. Like a lot of top athletes finance their training and their life as an athlete by being a coach. And they offer, of course, training programs like just training plans. They offer direct coaching, and there are multiple offers. But I can't say that there's a really like basics thing that you can start, except finding someone you trust to that offers coaching.
Great. And okay, shoe on the other foot. If I'm a 40-year-old strength coach with a background being able to coach gymnastics, calisthenics, and powerlifting, I don't necessarily want to compete in the sport, but I want to get involved. Is there a way that I can do that? Can I set up any way? Is there any way of getting involved as a coach who quite likes the look of this, but can't necessarily compete in it? Is there a role for a coach or an older person that wants to coach?
So from my side, that's also a project we are working on, is to bring out a coaching license in the future. It's a bigger project because a coaching license is really, you need to get in depth a lot of things. But what I can recommend, if you're already in the weightlifting, powerlifting section as a coach, you already have experience of how I plan training, nutrition and stuff. And what we offer already is a judging license for FineRep competitions. So it's basically an education on the rule book. And this is like, if you go through this, I went through this on my own to be a judge too. And I recognized it's a very basic introduction into street lifting and how we see street lifting, how do you execute exactly like this. So it's basically a online class. It's 2.5 hours where our head judge, who developed this rule book, gives an explanation about the execution and all things that you can see here in the table. And then we have on our app platform, we have 100 training videos. So it's basically videos from our live stream from real competitions.
Awesome.
Where we just use this lift, and then you can vote on it. Was it a good lift? Was it kipping, kicking, and things like this? And just running through this, you then are officially a judge. But basically on my side, I would say it's very beneficial to be able to talk about the sport and maybe to even just accompany people attending competitions or doing their training. I think that's a very good intro.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And that works in well with powerlifting, I think, and weightlifting until you're technically, like we call it technical officials, obviously in weightlifting. We have to constantly renew and update with the regulations and rules. We have to look at doping. We have to keep on top of our knowledge for the sport, not necessarily the actual doing of the sport, that the actual partaking. It's everything that goes around it. And within, a lot of our viewers will come from a CrossFit background. What we always recommend is doing the judges course before the CrossFit Open, which is in February, March time each year, to get an understanding around what people are looking for, the judging. Because if you can understand what the judge is looking for, you will understand what the performance should look like. And then you can build from there, can't you? You can build back, build back, build back until you get to the point that you're able to coach it. So that's a really good way of doing it. Yeah, I think you're right there, Tim. And like you said, it's something that I'm quite interested in this. From a powerlifting background and from a strength position. I don't kip. I haven't kipped for since 2019, really. I had a neck operation, so I have a couple of discs replaced in my neck, and because of that, handstands are out the window. I don't want to do those. But kipping, because I'm not kipping anymore, I've focused on the strength side of it. So I'm doing, your pull ups strict all the time, making sure my form's immaculate and going through that. I've my times have got slower, clearly, if I ever do a CrossFit workout. But that's not my goal anymore. I'm going for strength and power output. So from a personal perspective, I really love the idea of focusing on all that. Now, from a personal perspective as well, I quite like the idea of taking someone to a competition. So if I'm a coach, I've done the judging piece online. I think I've got a 18, 19-year-old kid that really is, has got a really good powerlifting background and loves the calisthenics. What's the next step? They've seen all the stuff online. We want to take them to their first competition. What's the next step? And say we're UK based, what would be the next step that we take?
I would say the next step is to find a competition.
Yeah.
Basically, what we see as our job is to bring all this together, that you can just go to FineRep, basically to our app, and then see all the events taking place around the world. So currently we have around 60 competitions globally on this platform. And like it should serve as the just first touch point. So yeah, you can open it. It's like if you click on the right top corner, like there's FineRep app. Yeah. Like those competitions that you have shown there.
They will come up through there. That's right.
Yeah. But anyways, if you go back, those competitions which we have shown there are just the national championships.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then each of those organizations has a lower competition level. Some are bigger, some are smaller. For instance, if you are in UK, there is the like UK Nationals from Body Strong. It's like this. Yeah, you can click there. And then you can also, I think we can have also a link embedded to their social media. Below, there's then an orange box. Yeah, here Body Strong Instagram. And then you can follow them and see how their competitions on the lower level took place.
Yeah.
As I know from them, they have some qualifier competitions in 5 districts, I think, prior to their nationals. And what we are aiming to is to support those people to have it easier to organize competitions. Because what I noticed, it's difficult to find a structure in the first place to organize competitions, because there's a lot of things you have to care about. You need a location, you need a team, you need to balance the finance, bring the people there. It's not easy to get attention on your competition. And we want to reach this by having this platform, because having this platform means you are listed within the feed, and you can also select the region, for instance, and you can see, in UK, there are 5 competitions in those dates. And then I can just register for it. So you have all information in place to access competitions. So this is the basic vision in the first place of this platform.
Right.
Yeah, and then we provide some guidelines, like how can you provide for a competition, what you need to look for, guidelines on the like not the training process for now. This is something that the coach does, or that we want to come up with the training app, but to provide information like what you need to, a packing list for the competition, or
Yes.
things like how is it emotionally, like how
Yep.
do you run emotionally for a competition. Things like this, we just want to provide that people are well prepared for them.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So this is within the app, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Awesome. So just scroll that. So this is great. It takes no time at all to log into that. It's just to log in. Wow, this is amazing. So if you're a gym, okay, so let's say I'm a gym and I would like to register and become part of a competition like these guys, or I'm a gym. Do I contact you guys directly and have a conversation around that?
Yes. So basically, if it's in a country where we don't have yet someone which I would call representative, it makes definitely sense. If we have one, for instance, you saw a lot of US competitions here in the feed already. We have a partner in the United States, which is the United States Street Lifting. They do a good job. Like, they're really focusing on building up the structure. So then I would recommend to contact them, because it makes more sense if you just align to the national structure.
Yeah.
And if just in case, you can also reach out to us, and then we will forward you. But if there is not a competition yet, for instance, I'm in contact, like yesterday, someone from Israel and someone from Tunisia contacted me. And I was just like, okay, the first step, of course, is to be in contact with us. We help you to organize the first national championship, because when you have a national level competition, everyone who is in this country will get on this point. And once you have them on your side, you can start think about how I can develop a structure for judging, a structure for event competitions, and then it keeps growing. And then we just we try to build up this one company, or this one person, so to speak. And then they develop their own structure. That's the idea.
That's brilliant. Not only for economy of effort, so from you guys, it's someone else doing that work, but also it gives ownership and purpose to those people in the country, and they build up this belonging and this sense of their community within you.
So, for instance, we already got the request from someone in, I think it was Dubai, who asked us, like, I want to have a big street lifting competition here in my country. What should I do? And I was like, there are athletes now in your region that you can contact to? It was like, no, it's difficult. How about judges? Yeah, I would like to pay for you to get judges to Dubai. So this was something that he offered us.
Right.
And I just refused at a certain point to continue this project, because I said it's not our goal to create big competitions anywhere where nobody is doing street lifting, just for the sake of and like attraction, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we want to focus on finding people who, of course, you start with a gym, like you need a training point. Most of the people who reach out to us have a gym, and then they start competitions. And from this point on, they just grow the structure of people engaging in the sport. This is the way to go on my side.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I don't know about with like German powerlifting or weightlifting, but from my experience with like British powerlifting and British weightlifting, there's a good sense of autonomy. So they give you the freedom to develop your club how you wish within specific guidelines. Things like safeguarding, things like regulations, things like making sure that everyone's looked after and the purpose is still remaining. But other than that, it's down to you, and it's your job and your responsibility to do that. And I think with that comes a lot of freedom. And we've seen that in with CrossFit gyms as well. There's a lot of freedom. And the beautiful thing about that is, if you don't do it properly, and if you don't run it like a proper business, and you don't attract and maintain and nurture your athletes, you don't stay open. Doesn't work. So it's down to you as a business owner and as a project leader to allow that to flourish and to do well. And I tend to find the difference, and this is a tough conversation to have with a lot of people that I know within CrossFit, is that with sport, with real sport, you have to have national governing bodies that are neutral and that look after the sport and look after the athletes, look after the clubs, and make sure that there's that system in place for regulations, for safety, and for management. They look after them. That's the difference between brands and with sports, I feel. Now, you can have brands within sports, but a lot of the American sports are very internal. So you look at NFL, NHL, NBA. They're brands first and foremost, and you don't have an impartial, independent adjudicator that is neutral globally to develop. Their very job is to develop the sport itself and to get in, uptake and to get kids involved and active and to look after that. And with the sports that I'm involved with power and weightlifting, that's very much the case. I live on a little island, the Isle of Man. It's in the middle of Ireland and the UK. And we're a sovereign state, so we're basically a micro country. So we have our own parliament, our own rules and everything like that. So because of that, I've had to set up weightlifting on the island. So I've had to set up the national governing body. So I've gone through all of the training, all of the kind of process and the red tape for that. And because of that, I've got a really good understanding about the difference between what is a sport and what is a brand and what's basically non-profit and profit. And the interesting thing is that when I look at this sport, your sport, so with specifically street lifting, it looks much more like a traditional sport. It looks a lot more like what I would consider sport. It's uniformed, it's observable, it's measurable, it's repeatable. It's the same, divisions. You've obviously got male, female. Do you have weight class divisions as well within each of those?
Yeah, we have 5 female and 7 male.
Great. Okay. Does that kind of follow the powerlifting weight divisions? How does that go?
I would say it's kind of aligned to it, but also aligned to the stage where the sport is right now. For instance, in powerlifting, I think you have more. Like, how many do you have in powerlifting?
There's 7, I think. It might be 8 now. But we got the super heavyweights. I can't imagine you've got many super heavyweights within.
Yeah, like the highest category split is at 101 kg body weight.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because of the muscle up, there is a certain limit to being heavy. And on side, it's even more like we would introduce more categories lower. Like the lowest category is minus 66 kg body weight.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And we have people with 58, 59 kg body weight competing. So on their side, they would argue that you need a lower category too.
Do you use an algorithm, a coefficient to look at body weight against the weight, or is it literally within the body weight categories? It's just standardized.
We have introduced something 2 years ago with people. There was someone in France who developed a kind of algorithm, which we call RIS, Relative Index of Street Lifting, and this kind of brings all the results. You can also see it in the app, so we have it embedded there that you can see your RIS score, and on the RIS we compare within the weight classes.
Brilliant.
I think the algorithm is kind of good, but it's still in the development process, so it needs just more data to be very correct. So on the women's side, you see a lot of differences, like there's a huge discrepancy, and on the male side, it's kind of more steady.
And again, we've talked about this a lot about other sports, but let's be generous and say the street lifting for what you do with final reps 5 years old. Let's call it 5 years old. It's only 5 years. It's not long for a sport to have developed and got everything right and everything in place. You look at football; it's 200 years old. The first league in Britain was about 150 officially with regulations and rules, 150 years, and they're still changing it. We had VAR introduced a couple of years ago. So all these things is constantly evolving. And sports like yours that are 5 years old, you're going to need to grow it, and it's an ongoing thing. So there's always going to be an understanding, I think, from everyone involved that it is changing. And you guys seem to be very honest with your transparency about the fact that you're learning, You need the data, driven. Things change. Weightlifting and powerlifting, the weight categories change every few years. F1, the engines change, the chassis change. Every sport that has been going on forever evolves and changes over time. It's what drives the sports. So that's a good thing. So Tim, where do you see, have you got any grand plans for this? I know we're still early days. It's 5 years in. We've got a really good community developing. You've got new countries approaching you. Where do you see the final rep in another 5 years? So at your 10-year anniversary point, where do you see final rep?
So first of all, I would like to touch one point that you already mentioned.
Sure.
It's the kind of how the sport structure is built on our side. We founded FineRep as a company, so as a private company, not a club, to be in charge of the decisions on our side, which for some people, it's kind of a conflict to say, if you want to grow a sport, you need to be an association, you need to have like democratic structures. We see that point, but also on the other side, we see that we can reach more in a certain time if we just have shorter cycles of decision making.
Absolutely.
We already founded, like the sport we are doing right now is within a how's it called, like non-profit company. So there's a legal entity which is called GUG. So it's kind of the how's it called, private business company, but on a side where you need to prove that you are not, like the profits are not going to the ownership. It's like need to be in the company and needs to be reinvested 100%. So we just had the idea we want to develop the sport, and we want to develop it under a brand.
Yes.
So we did not decide to call it like International Street Lifting and so on. We want to have it as a brand where people can associate with. Where we see, for instance, in football, there is the FIFA, but no one wears a FIFA T-shirt.
Yeah.
You already wear the T-shirt of the club you like. And as you can see on my side, I'm wearing a T-shirt of FineRep. So this is the kind of association that we want to reach for the sport, that people have something to connect with on a higher level.
Yes.
So what I see as a goal on my side is, on one side, to develop the brand, to be recognized as the street lifting and also calisthenics brand. So we are also expanding on the competitions we have. So we are introducing right now a endurance or sets and reps competition.
Wow. Okay.
We started this year in Germany with a small season, and for the next years we want to expand on the same scale and street lifting, because we see it's very connected. Like calisthenics is just more than the sport that we do currently. And on the other side, it's, I think on the operational side, especially, it's my job to be aware of the responsibilities that we have implementing proper structures. So as I said, we are working on a training app, we are working on a coaching program. So this is kind of the work that classic sport federations do.
Yes.
Which then we do on our side. And I see it like the advantage that we have is that we are a young sport, and we have, on one side, we have social media. So we were able to spread the message very fast to a lot of people. And the second is that we have a sport like powerlifting already having structures which are working well, I think, because otherwise you would not be globally that big and successful. So a lot of things that we can, a lot of things we adapt from powerlifting. So if you look at our rule book, a lot of rules about squatting come from the IPF rule book. A lot of rules about equipment come from them. And we can just see what looks good and what works, and then we can adjust to the vibe and to the vision that we have for our sport. And this makes it, for us currently, we just have a good pace of development.
Yes.
And we also, just to bring it also to the talk, we have a doping test system already.
Awesome.
So we have an agency in Germany which is affiliated with, or which works with, laboratories of WADA in Germany.
Brilliant. Okay.
And they did the doping test for the European Championship last year. And we introduced a off-season testing pool, so in a kind of membership system. So if you want to compete at World or European Championship, you need to be part of the FineRep Sports League. That's how we call it right now. You buy a subscription, and then we can finance the doping test for off-season testing and on-stage testing.
Brilliant. Love that. Because again, it adds a level of legitimacy. I think with any power-based sport, drugs protocols are important to maintain. Again, I'm taking one of my lifters to the IWF Worlds in October in Norway, and it's 3 months. It's October the 2nd is the first day. So from July the 2nd onwards, we need to make sure that ADAMS, I don't know if you know about ADAMS from WADA, it's anti-doping and measures. It's a whereabouts scheme, basically.
Yeah.
So in order to qualify and be able to compete at Worlds, you need to have logged every Sunday afternoon. You log in 1 hour for every day of the week where drugs testing can be done. So they can just turn up without knocking, without anything. They just knock on your door and they're there, and you have to be where you say you are. Mm-hmm. With that becomes a level of legitimacy with a sport. As soon as you know you've got a rigid in place drug testing protocol, it adds a certain level of quality and distinction away from sports that don't. And you've seen that even with things like High Rocks. The last year or so, they've added in a testing pool for the elite 15 to the top boys. I think everyone knows deep down that it needs to be done, but especially with power sports, I think it's really important for that. So that's a cracking job, and I can understand that must have been a lot of hard work for you to be able to get that involved. So kudos to you, hats off to you for doing that.
Thanks. Actually, this request came from the community. So the athletes by themselves came to us and said, we want to introduce drug testing because we know we are sober and we want to prove this. And actually, some of the people, if I see them, which are world class, I can't even believe that they're humans.
Yeah.
To then have them tested on site. And so far, we tested all the winners of the categories at European Championship, and we had 3 random tests to people where we got notice prior to the competition, maybe you need to test them, like people from more Eastern Europe companies and people who just look bulked. But so far, none of the tests were positive, which I think is also a good thing. Yeah. And some people just came to the competition with T-shirts with the print on front, ready to test. They came to us and were like, "Oh yes, now I can prove that I'm
amazing."
Yeah,
I love that attitude. I love that attitude of, come bring it on. I can prove I want to prove to you that I'm natural, which is awesome. And then I can do all this shit afterwards, which is great.
and there you can see the kind, I would say this is the basic foundation of the sport, is the calisthenics idea of having a raw sport, a very basic sport where you just you don't need much, you just do training. And this is the kind of vibe that we started with in the first place. So because we have someone in our team who is really a street lifter by heart, he already keeps this on the schedule. He says, we have to focus on this. And also on my side, I adapted this vision, and we want to just, if there, that's also why we introduced the drug testing, and we will be very strict on it. If there is a positive test, then we will also follow this very strictly, and to just keep it sober. So if you just leave the room for things if you have, for instance, you have an equipment guideline for the sport, and people just have equipment which is out of the guidelines, then you need to put it out of the sport, because otherwise it would not be any longer comparable. So I think the calisthenics community appreciates this kind of attitude.
Yes. Yeah, which is admirable. I know you can't answer this exactly. If I was to ask one of the best athletes that you guys have in the world, if I was to ask them why they do this, why do you do street lifting? What do you think their answer might be?
I would say it's their way of life.
Brilliant. That's a great answer. I like that. And why do you guys do it? What keeps you interested, Tim? Is there one? I know there's loads of different reasons, but what's your main passion driven from the final rep?
So on my personal side, I can say since I was a child, I had the vision to do something with sport in my later career when I'm an adult. And when I went through a lot of sports, as we had at the beginning of this discussion, I did ski jumping, I did football, And then I came to calisthenics because of two things. I had a lot of injuries, and calisthenics just gave me back a lot of stability and just gave me back joy to the sport. And the second is because I see a lot of aesthetics in it. So it's a very
Mm,
aesthetic sport. And on my side, I just see it as a kind of a very, it's just the most beautiful sport I have ever seen.
mm,
Because the center of sport, as I see it, is this kind of like you are focusing on yourself. You see yourself, your development as a kind of project, and you are able to connect with people on a very friendly and not competitive level. Even if we
mm,
organize competitions, if you're on a competition, you will see that all people in the same weight class, all over all weight classes, they are friends with each other. They
mm.
support each other, and it's not that kind of rivalry, so to speak, because in the end, you only can focus on your own performance.
Yes.
And on
And
my side, I'm doing this company because I just want to. I see that the like there are two things. There is the competition side. I just love to bring the people together, and I love to spread this kind of attitude that the sport has. So it's just a great get together every time. And the other thing is that we are very focused on the digital side too. So the software we are developing, we have the vision for that. We create a platform where sport can take place on, where people can use the software to get back outside to the sport. So it's not that you're hooked
mm,
into the system and you keep on your smartphone. It's like you have your smartphone as a device to get you back on training and to
mm,
see how the sport is evolving on a global scale. You can even now compare your results with everyone around the world who is already in this kind of software. So we have the vision to create a really big digital sport platform for
brilliant.
calisthenics and maybe even in the future for other sports too.
Yes. And it's really that's refreshing to hear, and I love that, because one of the main concerns that the CrossFit scene has had, and I'll be honest, powerlifting, um, weightlifting has done a good job, especially in Britain over the last probably 10 years, but that specifically the last sort of 5 years, they've put a lot of money and development into the online platforms. So if I'm a weightlifter, if I'm a coach or a weightlifter or a club or an NGB, there's a portal that I can go on and it's all on there. It's really easy to find, and it's run by UK Sport. So the people in charge of UK Sport have it started this platform for sports to be able to have a hub, and it's non for profit, and it's only for the governing bodies to use.
Hmm.
So it's not commercially used. Um, Powerlifting have only within the last 3 months, British powerlifting, gone onto that system. So up until then, it was, you know, a bit of paper on a gym wall and you sign your name on it if you want to do the competition. And in order to find anything, it was a massive task. And I think it's a huge hurdle when people can't sign up for competition to get drive numbers, to get people involved. There's only a certain amount of wriggle room you've got there for people to actually go to the competitions. You need it as easy as you can, eliminate those hurdles as much as you can. And with CrossFit, we've seen quite a lot of that. The data management, the ability, the availability of all the data and information has been really poor, considering the size of size of the amount of gyms and participants. And there's one guy that's developed this website recently called Apollo, and all it is data. It's all the data from CrossFit over the last 20 years. It's just a data pool, and you can click on it and find information on what an athlete did. That's it. It's not organizing competitions or hosting anything like that. It's just data. There's this huge demand for people in this world of sport for data and comparison. So if you're developing a way to do that and to host and to coach and to do all that, phenomenal. I love the idea of that. Eliminate all those hurdles. If you've got one place, one hub that you can go to for it all, you're eliminating so many hurdles and obstacles for people. So I love that idea.
And
Um,
if I
yeah,
can add something to it, the
sure.
beautiful thing is that it is a user platform. So, I mean, you had opened the app, right? Can you just share it on the screen again that I
Yeah,
can
of
show you
course.
something?
Let's have a look which one it was. That one. So if I go there, there we go. Right, this one.
So if you go on ranking on the left side, There you have the overall ranking from all results. No, not yet.
Okay. There we go. Lovely. Oh, amazing.
There you have the best results from all athletes in the past, and you can filter it above about the weight classes. Like on the right side, we have overall, and you can filter it by weight class.
Oh, I'll go to mine. Hang on. There we go.
And currently, what you can see here is the ranking for the world's qualification cycle. So everyone here is now, like, tomorrow we will start the qualification, no, the registration for World Championship. And as you can see here, all those people, those are actual profiles. So if you go, just click on one profile.
I'll go to the British guy.
Yeah. Then you can see he has a profile picture. You can see his legacy of competitions. And you can also, like, if he adds something to his profile, he can write something like, I'm based in there, this is my profession. Like, there are really people just building up a profile, so to speak.
Mm.
And we just want to give also this recognition to the athlete by themselves. So that it's like you can build your legacy within the system there and everyone can recognize it.
Sorry, hang on. 160 kilo dip. That is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, and the thing is that is all competition proved. Like you did it on a competition. It's not a training PR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I think you said trying to match what they did with the squat with the other three. That's pretty accurate here.
Yeah, it's a good case. Like you have 30, 90, 120, like 280, and 260 in the squat. And this, on my side, it makes a beautiful sport out of it because like you are so balanced. Like you're a complete athlete, complete strength athlete, at least.
I do love that because within the world of CrossFit, there's two guys that have done it, but about 10 years ago, that Dave Castro, who's the guy, the director of sport at CrossFit, he set out this challenge to say within a 24-hour window, can anyone do a 500-pound back squat and under a sub 5-minute mile run? And he's just set out that superhuman task of something that's so contrasting in terms of capacity and ability to be able to run a sub 5-minute mile and have, I think it's a 225, 230 kilo squat on this within the same 24-hour window. What you guys are doing, I think, is probably in line with that in terms of feats of how impressive it is. Now, Tim, my final question, because I know I've gone well over an hour with you. How long does it take? So a typical event, if I was to show up, is it done similar to a powerlifting or weightlifting meet? You weigh in the morning and then there's the flights throughout the day. Is that how it kind of goes?
Yeah, like basically our idea is that, for instance, I can tell about the World Championship. We have 12 weight classes and we have 2 competition days. So estimately we can bring about like 80 to 90 people through in the entire weekend. So we are planning like to have 2 flights simultaneously, just like switching. Like one is on the competition platform and the other one is in the warm-up. And if we just have usually we have 2 flights with 7 athletes. And for them, the total, it needs 4 hours to run through the competition.
Right.
And then we have 3 blocks per day. So it's like 12 to 14 hours that we as the organizer have to complete the competition from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. usually. That's our goal. And that's it. So for an athlete, depending, I mean, there are also competitions. For instance, I was in India this year, invited as a judge.
Wow.
And there it took even more because the most important to have a very smooth a competition is that you have a good moderator, so a good host who guides the people through the competition, and that you have a good stacker team. As in powerlifting, you need the people very fast to be ready for the next, and you just need everyone to be aligned with the process, how it works. And once you can make it, you can bring 40 people through in one day. But when I was in India, for instance, they were only able to get 20 people through it in one day.
Right.
So
because of, the lack of volunteers, I guess. Okay. Well, I've just seen one video that I want to pull up here. Hang on, wait. Before you go, hang on.
Maybe one last thing that I think is
nice of course
here. If you go on our YouTube channel.
Yes, I will do that. A 200 kilo dip for anyone, and the look. Sorry,
And
that's
actually,
just.
this is Tonio, like he's my co-founder.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Here we go. Here we go.
that's
Right.
the fun thing, that he's like holding the world record in dip. Like he did the 200 kg on a competition, but not valid. But in the end, everyone saw like he did it.
200 kilo dip. That is absolutely mad. Right, where are you? There you are. I followed it, I think. Let's have a looky, hooky. Let's get you up there. Final rep. There we go. Right. Cool.
If you open like one of the German Open live streams that are right in front, yeah. What we did from the first place is we had a focus very strong on good live stream. And
Yes.
yeah, if you go further in where you can see the competition, like this is just an interview.
Wow.
We just developed a setup for our within our app that you can use for the live stream. So
Wow.
everything that you can see here is data that is directly out of the system from the app. And if we do a judging on stage, so the judge says it's a good lift, you will see at the lower border, like there is a tick, like the green box.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there. And once the athlete completed, like it's green, and then it switches to the next athlete. And all the
Wow.
data is like it's all live data. So you can see in the app the live data. So even if you're not watching the live stream, you can follow the competition. And for everyone who hosts a competition, you only need some camera and the OBS, like the free streaming software. And then you can use all the overlays that we have here for free.
Wow. Tim, that is a game changer.
It is.
And I'll tell you why.
And one
Because
last
I
thing
don't. Yeah, sorry, you carry on.
Yeah, it's really, I think, mind-blowing for people who do powerlifting. Powerlifting is a very long, like it has a legacy.
Yeah.
As you said, the enter of attempts goes with paper sheets.
Yeah.
What we have tablets, and we have QR codes, which are linked to your profile. Every athlete who comes to our competition gets a badge with his name and this QR code. And he just goes to the tablet, scans this QR code, and can enter his attempts completely on his own digitally. And this goes into the system, and then you can see it here.
Wow. And Tim, how long has it taken you to develop this? I know to me, this is light years ahead of anything I've seen. Obviously, I think you'll probably refine it and make it better over time. How long has this taken you to develop this thing that we're seeing right now?
The technical side?
Yeah, just to be able to use this platform like this, how long has it taken you to develop that?
We started like kind of exactly 3 years ago.
3 years.
And
Right.
we only
Okay.
have one software developer. He's a kind of a genius. Like he did everything, the back end, the front end, the full stack, so the combination. He already, like all the software actually is also running on our own servers. So he has servers on site at home,
Mhm.
and it's a completely like self-owned software.
So you've got, I'll just reiterate that. You've got, and there's a purpose behind this, by the way. You've got one guy who's developed this, who hosts it from his home, and it's taken under 3 years to develop to get to this point. This is a platform that you can use just a camera setup. You just turn this on. It's hosted through the app that we've already talked about, and it's live and it's updated, and it looks exactly like this.
Correct.
That is phenomenal. And there's a reason that I'm talking about this. We've really, really struggled. And I guess the reason you've developed this partially is not just because you want to make your sport look amazing and easy to access and to look at, but you've probably identified that there's no one doing that.
There's a huge potential.
Yes. Yeah. So, and sorry, I know another 15 minutes has gone there. My last question on this, because this is really important, is there scope to develop that and use the idea and be able to host other people and other competitions outside of Final Rep?
Yes, it is. So actually you can, if you go back I can show you actually on the app if you open it again.
Okay, one sec. On the app, where are we? There we go. Good. If I get back.
On the left side, there is an update section down.
Oh yeah,
download.
upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah. And there we have two things embedded. On one side, you can, on the left side, become an event organizer. So then you get our rights assigned to create an event.
Okay.
And on the right side, there we have our FineRep Sports League, so the doping test system membership embedded. So both things are already managed there. And yeah, this is kind of how you can get access to. Then I see it on my backend, and then I can accept everyone. I just want to have some kind of comment, like I want to organize this and there. As I said yesterday, someone from Israel just requested this, and then I wrote him like, "Can you give me some introduction about the competition scene there?" And now we are in conversation, so it's really cool to have this. And yes, for the future, we will like also make it more visible for people outside the FineRep cosmos that it is accessible, because we just have the structure, and we are like the value that we have is that the platform is growing. So we are not necessarily relying on that it's a FineRep competition. We have already the feature that you can see it is FineRep affiliated and other competitions aren't, which is, I think, enough for the first place. And for the future, we also want to further develop it to make it accessible for other sports. So I think powerlifting is the most closest one, because the structure of the competition is pretty similar. You just need to change the judging interface, so other disciplines, but in general, it's kind of the same.
Yeah. I might need to pick your brains about that offline. I'll speak to you about that. But Tim, what an amazing feature to add to your already big brand and company. So, Tim, thank you so much for your time. I've learned a hell of a lot about your company, about street lifting, about the athletes, about access, about your systems. There's a lot going on for you. I can see why you're busy and you work on the weekends, but I can also see why you love it so much and why you're passionate about it. It's still an emerging sport and an emerging community, but I think it's going to continue to grow, and you should be really proud of what you've done so far. So access to if people are interested, obviously Instagram and YouTube, get involved. I've just signed up on the app a minute ago, and it was literally just log in with your email address and you've got access. People within different regions and different countries can easily, through the app, find their local competition and sport, and facilitator, get in contact with them. And we'll keep an eye on the app that you talked about, and access to training programs and that kind of thing, which will be awesome. And that was something that you said was My Strength book. I think you said you were in talks with being able to do that.
Yeah,
lovely.
Kind of developing. Yeah,
amazing.
So, yeah, just one thing also to add from my side.
Sure.
As you said, like the sport is just amazing. There's so many things to show. I love this opportunity that you give me to be also present on a format which is outside of street lifting, and this is something that I think that we need in the calisthenics and street lifting sport. That there are more people just want to share spread the word of the sport. So even now, when we are heading towards the World Championship in October this year in Germany, I think that there is a lot of potential just making this more known, just to have platforms like yours, or to have news platforms like classic press and media to just share this, that we can get more people to the competition, and that we can get more people to the sport. Because even if you cannot come to Germany, you can see this amazing live stream and follow it. And we try to provide as many access points as possible. Like you can organize a competition with the software. You can join the training program for judges. In the future, you can train on your own via the training app. So we try to make the sport just very accessible, and also well digital integrated.
And Worlds is the 4th and 5th of October, I've seen, in Germany. That's great. I'll keep an eye on that, because what I can do you know what kind of, it's an all-day thing, isn't it? So the 4th and 5th. But what I might do, obviously I'll pick you up with this on offline, but what I'd like to do is sort of patch in and watch it live, and hope be able to watch it on here and have and host that while so people can watch with me and we can talk about it, because this is the kind of thing that I'd be really interested in watching and promoting because it's cool. It's so cool. Each one of the 4 events is fucking badass. Like people look at it and go, yeah, that's what I want to do. So I think we'll really develop and I'll try and get people watching that and go and try if they can just to find local events if they're near them. You know, we've got a lot of Americans here, but people from all around the world. So I'll try and get people to support the community and to maybe have a go at it and try because you know, especially with the type of people and viewers that we've got here, we've got a lot of people that are desperately trying to find different ways to express their fitness and strength that they develop all year round. And this is such an awesome you know, option to do that because there's no other events that focus, you know, predominantly on strength within the calisthenics or let's call it gymnastics elements of what people do. It's always either cardio or weights or general CrossFit. There hasn't been anything, you know, on the grander scale that develops that gymnastic and calisthenics approach. So this is, I can see a lot of CrossFitters wanting to do this as part of their season, which would be an amazing opportunity for everyone involved. So nice one. All right, Tim, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope I didn't talk too fast. For you, but no, really appreciate your time and good luck over the next sort of few months with everything. And we'll keep in contact. And I'll send you a couple of messages about the hosting thing. I'm quite interested in that for a couple of reasons. But no, that's great. Thank you so much, Tim. It was a pleasure, and I'll pick up with you in a bit.
Thanks, man. The pleasure's all mine.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. How amazing is that? So I know I'm biased here, but I love that shit. The idea of being able to rock up and just do like everything overhead, you know, with the gymnastic side of it and then show off with a bloody big back squat is amazing. So yeah, anyone interested in that, please follow the link that I will post. Actually, when I post on Instagram, I'll put a link in there for its final rep. Go and subscribe to them on YouTube if you can. It's one click away. And watch some of the events. How good was that hosting software? And I think you all know why I want to pick up on that. Good. So that is the sesh done. I'll call it a sesh rather than a on the show. So rest of the day, keep that open. Rest of the day, what have we got? So next Tuesday, July the 1st, I've got Carl Steppard on. Carl's been on the CrossFit scene for, I think, 2005, 2006. So he's an early adopter, had a gym or gyms in the UK very early on, worked for CrossFit, was at the top of his game with affiliate and seminar staff, affiliate managers across the globe. Now he's moved over to Metfix, and he's the academy manager for that. So he's managing and developing all the academy people, so coming through and education piece. So it'd be really interesting to pick up with Carl about that, ask him differences, points of view, development, where he sees it going, what the emphasis is there, all the questions that we all want to ask. So that would be cool. And Carl is a gooner, so I'm going to have to ask him why he is an Arsenal fan, and why he's not normal. So that's that. And then tonight on Glinton Things, Jon and I are going to be watching Augustus, the new reigning king, go head to head. We got Corey, a Masters athlete with no gaps in his game. So we're going to see what we're working with there. It involves a dumbbell and a rope. We'll see how we go. But thanks for joining me, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm off for a weightlifting meeting discussing World Championships. So we'll see you tonight, and it is 7 p.m. I believe GMT, which is about 1 o'clock Augustus's time. I think I'll have to double check that. It's chaos. It's absolute chaos, but we love it. Have a great afternoon and day, guys. Thanks for joining me. And I will see y'all soon.